Hi, friends. Host Eric here, host of Talking with Most People. And this morning, I'm doing a live stream at what I'm sure is a terrible time to do a live stream. It's 6 a.m. on the West Coast. I just got up and, I've been reading through the comments on the video I put up last night on C.S. Joseph, and I decided I got to talk about this shit because people are trying to bust my ass for all different sorts of reasons, and some of them are valid and some of them are totally wrong. So, did I put my whole ass into that C.S. Joseph video last night? No, I didn't. Do I regret that kind of? Yeah, I regret that kind of. Like, I wish I had done a formal type police video on it and prepped it out a bit. Fair enough. Okay. Did I strawman him a bit in a couple spots? Yes, I did. I strawmanned him specifically about the issue of the four sides of the mind. I portrayed it as though he meant you could do those four sides concurrently. I since have realized I did at the time I was confused about what he meant by it, but I now understand he doesn't mean you can do them concurrently. He means that you switch between them, which is just as insane, right? It's crazy. It's like, okay, well, now all of a sudden I'm going to switch into TE Dom. I'm going to start paying attention to how to do everything. And it's like utilizing functions that aren't in your conscious stack does happen. It doesn't change you into that type momentarily. It's insane. So, I don't know if I'm going to get very many participants here at all given the time of day. Maybe I won't. Maybe it's just me rambling on about the subject. I'm going to go over a couple of the comments that I read on this video and address what they say. So, here we go. I don't agree with C.S. Joseph's explanation of cognitive functions, but in this particular video, your arguments weren't as strong as the C.S. Joseph's and ENTJ videos you made. Here, it seems like you're mocking the theory presented without studying it first. Okay, well, it may seem that way, but I have studied it plenty. And what people in general seem to be ignoring on that video is my core critique is he's got a couple of things definitely wrong, right? So it's definitely wrong that ENTPs are pragmatic and not affiliative by those definitions. But he relies on those definitions to type people, which is why he gets everybody wrong. So, for example, he typed Ben Shapiro as an ISTJ. That's crazy. It makes no sense at all. There's zero chance that Ben Shapiro has fourth slot in E. Now, C.S. Joseph with his countervalued NE doesn't seem to get that it actually matters, like he just thinks that it's the irrelevant part of being an ENTP, the extroverted intuition or something. It's nuts. Am I mocking him? Yeah. I'm mocking him. I mean, you get 12,000 fucking subscribers by preaching a bunch of wrong shit that is paper thin. I mean, I just blew right through it in 5 seconds. He's got basic things wrong. Completely wrong. Now, I want to address this next point. Hey, Eric, you're great too. You're one of the best type critics and the only on YouTube. However, to refute type grid is equivalent to refuting the lifelong work of David Kersey, Linda Burns, and Stephen Montgomery. All C.S. Joseph doing is explaining their work on YouTube. Linda Barons expanded on Kiersey's work by combining temperaments and interaction styles, noticing and tying together new behavior patterns. If you don't like how C.S. Joseph is explaining it, I suggest you read the original work. Okay, if all C.S. Joseph is doing is repeating previous wrong people in their wrongness that he's ascribed to as the singular truth of path, the singular path of truth, then what possible reason do we have to think he's an ENTP? Can anybody come up with one? So he has no original ideas. He's going with something that's already been put out there. He's just explaining it to everybody and being a life coach with it and not critiquing it enough to realize how obviously wrong it is. What makes you think he's an ENTP? What makes anybody think that could possibly be the case? He hasn't any ideas. None. No original ideas at all. Joey says, I think he's trying to create some sort of cult with him being the top cult leader. Every follower has to believe and think exactly as he does. And also pleasure him with praise, money, and sex. Well, I mean, if that's what you're into, I guess. I don't think he's really trying to become a cult leader or anything. I think he's trying to become a guru. Not trying, he's successfully become a guru. Now, note that there aren't very many people who really afford that sort of status to me at all. And in fact, I'll go through the comments, you'll see that I get afforded quite the opposite status, which I'm grateful for. I'm really grateful for that. It's like, dear Lord, I don't want to be that easy to make fun of. You know, it's what it boils down to. I don't want to be that easy to make fun of. It's third slot FE. For a live stream with nobody watching, nobody participating, I'm enjoying this live stream a lot. Especially for a live stream with nobody participating, nobody watching, and me not on any speed, and just getting up in the morning, I'm enjoying this a lot. All right, Walter Wiseman jokes. Yes, alcohol makes right-handed people left-handed. There's a general rule of left-hand thumb for right-handed ego types. For left-handers, it's vice versa, according to the dual implications, the physical human body, and the fourfold and interdimensional beings for short. Really important to know, guys, is that this manifests for drunk being only while being unconscious. Yeah. So I agree with you, Walter Wiseman. Nothing against C.S. Joseph. You just can't help it, right? That's the thing. It's like, I don't want to be that easy to make fun of. It's a little more challenging to make fun of me, hopefully, than that. And you only get that easy to make fun of by being that fucking wrong. I mean, he's so goddamn wrong. Well, it's Kiersey's working on it. Then they're so fucking wrong. What difference does it make? He's the one saying the words. Edward Humphrey. I get the same feeling from C.S. Joseph as I do from Jordan Peterson. There's some kind of call to action. They're both trying to help people move forward. Whereas this channel, talking about famous people on the other hand, is so low energy. It's a guilty pleasure for when I want to switch off from life. But there's not a thing here I would ever want to emulate. Well, Edward Humphrey, that's just one way in which I'm vastly superior. I'm not trying to tell you how to live. I don't think you should emulate me. I think you should be you. Wins the point. It absolutely does win the point. Why should I be trying to make a call to action to people for self-development? That's presumptuous. That other people are not living well enough or right enough in some capacity. I also want to develop as a self, like anybody, and I do have my opinions about things, but I recognize the fact that my approaches to things are not necessarily going to work for you. It really depends a lot on type. I think I could potentially give good advice to ENTPs, and it would be applicable. I don't know if I could give such great advice to other types, except insofar as I am able to account for the fact that I'm an ENTP and my way isn't necessarily going to work. It's got to be individuated to the person in that regard and their type. This is a juicy title for a live stream too. It's just, I guess it's the time of day and my lack of popularity or something, but I'm surprised I don't have anybody in here yet at 10 minutes. Shit happens. So I'll go back to the why is this video unavailable? What does that mean? It's the chat. Okay, well, I don't see anything in the chat at all. So that's fine though. What was I talking about? Right. Comments. Go back to the comments here. Trying to figure out which of the many personalities theories is correct is like going into a gigantic bookstore, browsing the health, nutrition, diet section, and seeing over 1 million different books, all claiming that their variation of the same half-baked bologna recipe is best for you. No, it's not like that at all. There's one central notion underlying cognitive functions, which is that we can taxonomy human attention meaningfully. Now, there are different ways to manifest that notion. It's true, but there's a consensus about what terms we use and what they mean in general. So if you're going to change one of those terms or mean something different, then you need to articulate that pretty carefully and why you're doing it. So what I've done is articulate very carefully exactly why this idea that everybody's sort of mewing around with is best understood as I express it. Not is arbitrarily best understood that way, not because it's my way, not because it works better, because it's more correct, and it's consistent with data, and it's consistent with its own definitions. It's consistent with the consensus understandings, and it's accurate. And if you were to, instead of leaving random uninformed comments, for example, watch my Cognitive Functions Explained videos, you've come to understand that your dismissal is indicative of your lack of imagination and or lack of intelligence and or defensiveness. Nothing else. It's not indicative of any problem with the idea. If you were talking about diet, you'd be right. There is no best diet. That's, of course, ridiculous, because every person has their own diet that they need to have, depending on their own body and its own specific needs. But that's not true for cognition analysis, because I'm not prescribing that you do something in order to accomplish a specific change. I'm saying the best way to understand philosophically human consciousness is like this. And when you understand it properly, then you can understand your own behavior better, understand the behavior of other people better, and most importantly, you simply have a metaframe through which to understand these things. So when an event occurs that would otherwise escape your meaning grabbing of it because you lack the language framework to analyze it thusly, now you have the capacity to do so. So if you want to be a serious human being instead of a moron, Brian Goss, then watch this video, okay? And learn some things. Half-baked bologna recipe. Brian Goss, you're an idiot. You are remarkably dumb. Remarkably. I'm remarking on it right now. Yeah. When this video is done, and I'll post a link here for you, Brian Goss, so you can watch this part of it out. I want to make sure you get a clear understanding of why you're so dumb. Not just me making the accusation unsubstantiated. No, I've substantiated it, and here's how I've substantiated it. I've explained, as I just did a second ago, what you're misunderstanding about it, how your analogy is wrong, and why you should, instead of in this fog of lack of information that you're wandering around in, learn a few things before you critique shit. Now, that's one of the things I've been accused of in this C.S. Joseph video and about DSP too, is that I haven't looked into it enough to critique it, except nobody's actually disputed my critiques. So nobody says, if you want to say, I haven't looked into it, so my arguments are wrong, don't say you haven't looked into it. Just say, this argument is wrong because this is what the actual truth is. And counter that argument directly. If you're not doing that, you're not doing anything. You're just spilling diarrhea water at your ass. Quick explanation of C.S. Joseph's four sides of the mind. Ego is you, subconscious what you aspire to be, unconscious you when your ego is not allowed to exist, superego, I don't know, but its purpose is to reset your life in crisis. I'm an ENTP. I'm always an ENTP. I'm not sometimes an ISFJ. I'm not sometimes an ESFP. I'm always an ENTP. When I experience trauma, I behave a lot more like an ISFJ. That's true. But that makes some sense, because then you're talking about your conscious function stack. And I'm under trauma, reverse prioritizing. Instead of spending most of my time in NE, I'm spending most of my time in SI. What does that mean? It means because of this trauma, I'm paying attention to cleaning up my house, settling onto this couch with a cup of tea, watching television, relaxing, trying to take care of myself. And my attention is much more compelled into certain channels than others because of this traumatic event. The event I'm specifically thinking of is the death of my dog. When my dog died, I very much did behave like an ISFJ for about a week. I did a lot of SI shit, and I didn't do a lot of ideating. I also, I dealt with my FI through SI, and I cried a lot and stuff, That was I behaving like myself? No. But does that make me a different type for that duration of time? Absolutely not. Hi, Evie. Where are you going? Are you going someplace? Oh, that's right. You gotta go to work. I forgot. So, certainly it's true that you can prioritize, you can be in the grips of your fourth function, so to speak, which really just means you can be traumatized or reacting to an unusual amount of stress. And in those circumstances, it is true that you'll behave more like your dual. But that is not the same thing as saying you've got four sides of the mind, and in these different contexts, you switch into different types and you have four types you could possibly be, which are, for me, ENTP, INTJ, ISFJ, and ESFP. I've never been an INTJ. I've never been an ESFP. I've never been an ISFJ. I behaved like one in response to trauma. And you might say that for the duration of that week, I was functionally an ISFJ insofar as my attentional manners were more well aligned with that. But the thing is, what I really was an ENTP who had just experienced a significant trauma. Now, every single type of person, or every person, regardless of type, is going to be different in the immediate after effect of significant trauma. It's wrong to say that you therefore go into your subconscious or something. I was consciously attending to SI more. It may have been reflexive in the sense that it was a reflexive response to the trauma, but it wasn't unconscious. It wasn't subconscious because that's what, all my functions are still in the front of the stack. So if you get the idea of functions wrong to begin with, and you don't think of them as a process and a manner of attention, but instead of an attribute you have or a component, a superpower you have or something that comprises one or more of your types, then you're going to get the whole thing wrong. You're going to get everything wrong. It's fruit from the poisonous tree, as they say in the legal community. You know, it's like if an illegal search produces evidence of a crime unrelated to the person that the illegal search is performed upon, it's still fruit from the poisonous tree. The prosecutor still can't use it because they can't use anything that was derived from an illegal search. It's the only remedy that the people have against that government power. We can't sue them for the illegal search. We can't. They're not guilty of any criminal offense for an illegal search. So the only remedy we have is to eliminate from that poisonous tree all the fruit that they might otherwise, to eliminate any reason for them to pick from that tree. If a tree really does have good fruit on it, then they have to pick from it correctly, or else they'll poison everything. Well, that's the same principle as is applied here with cognitive functions. If you don't get the basic concept right to begin with, then everything's going to be poisonous fruit. Okay. Florian Bischoff says, sorry, I dislike C.S. Joseph, and I think his system is flawed inherently. Most of this video is a huge straw man. I said not remotely. He's got a point here, okay? Okay, so let me just tell him I'm live streaming this. Live streaming about your comment right now. Live streaming about your comment. All right, so all the data on what the chart means was drawn from your friend's interpretation of, no, all the data on what the chart means, look, the chart has the data on it. The chart is the data. The chart is his content, and I am specifically responding to that. So you're wrong. Now, I do agree that I've already conceded that I misinterpreted his thing as meaning you can do those four sides concurrently, when really he means you switch between them, okay? It's just as fucking wrong. But the key thing is, what Florian in this instance is not responding to is my actual point, which is that you are one type. And it is stupid to think that drugs are able to change your attentional habits. They may disrupt them in some capacity, but they don't change them. We know that. When Kimberly drinks alcohol, she may become a more lively ISFJ, but she doesn't become anything else. She's still herself. We know this. We know this from all of our life experience. When somebody smokes marijuana, they become more quiet and stuff, but they're still themselves. They still have the same personality, right? There's no disputing this. It's well established by all reality that we have in front of us. So you're wrong. Now, I'm not just shitting on things that my conversation partner says about C.S. Joseph's system. I also have a 45-minute video in which I critique his response to a video I made about him being an ENTJ. And it goes into great detail about why he is wrong. I am not just shitting on stuff. If you think I'm not informed adequately or something, begin watching my book series in which I explain how things actually work. And don't just dismiss what I'm saying because you like C.S. Joseph or don't like C.S. Joseph, or because you don't like my tone or whatever, actually respond to the responses I make. All the data on what the chart means. The chart means what it says, Florian. It means what it says. I don't need anybody else's words to help me understand what it says. And what it says is wrong. Period. I've explained why. You didn't respond to that explanation. So it stands. Matthew points out that he tends to agree with most everything C.S. Joseph says, but it could be that we're just both ENTPs with demon heroes in our Taurus moons, and we're both Enneagram 10s with 12 wings, so I'm hugely biased towards his perspectives. I agree. I thought it was funny, Demon Windu. Walter Wiseman doesn't joke. I thought it was funny. I get that you're trolling him and us hard here. I'm not trolling him. To suggest that I was trolling him would be that I wasn't serious about what I was saying and just trying to evoke a response for something from him. I'm completely serious. He's totally wrong. It's totally insane that he has 12,000 subscribers. I tore apart his little chart in 5 seconds, and nobody's responded to my core warrant here, which is that it's wrong about pragmatism and affiliative or whatever. Foremost, that's step one. If you want to actually argue against what I'm saying, defeat that point first, and then we'll move on from there, okay? Until that point's defeated, nobody has any reason to pay any fucking attention to this moron. He is fundamentally wrong at the very outset of his understanding of things, and it is poison that poisons all the fruit thereafter. That's how it is. C.S. Joseph treats type as categorization instead of understanding processes. When I first found the channel, I liked his type description, but I started to get annoyed by his weird takes on it because he doesn't understand it as a system. He understands it as one of those kids' toys that have different shaped holes you put shapes through. He just describes some holes well. That I don't doubt he does describe some holes well, and I like that analogy. Great. Is there a critique of C.S. Joseph's content following this? His chart is his content. My critique makes many actual points, which you ignore. I didn't make that grid. He did. It's got his name on it. C.S. Joseph, coach, writer, wrong person. Right? So, how am I not critiquing his content? If anybody thinks C.S. Joseph is right about cognitive functions, first convince me he's an ENTP, because he's convinced himself he's one, even though not any goddamn original ideas at all. So, here we have a situation where it's reality versus emotion. People get emotional when they don't like my tone, when they think I'm being arrogant or self-important or whatever, or when they really like C.S. Joseph. But like this shit, where's that lady's fucking comment that was so stupid? Did she delete it? The messed up chart. Heather Bryant, this comment here. Oh my God, Heather Bryant. Joel Miller, thank you for listen to Heather Bryant's interpretation of this shit. 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes in the live stream, so I know to timestamp her on this. Hilarious. This video sounds like you would expect to hear if you walked in on your little brother and his friends flipping through your chemistry textbook and trying to make sense of your homework. Huh? What does that mean? That's a funny sounding word. This doesn't make any sense. Honestly, this figuring shit out phase is something most people would do behind closed doors and not post online for all the world to see. They find it embarrassing. I can't figure it out because it's so fucking wrong. That's why I couldn't figure it out. Okay, sweetie? You think I'm too dumb to figure out C.S. Joseph's stupid ass shit? If you have any real criticism of the system, I suggest you understand it first. Again, I understand it fine. It's wrong. That's my point I'm making. By the way, the premise behind the unconscious, subconscious, and superego is not that they are used concurrently. Okay, fine. Stand corrected, and appropriately so. Shifts between them are referred to as cognitive transitions. See what happens when you're a decent human being, Heather Bryant? You accept things that are correct, and you dispute things that are incorrect, instead of just disputing everything for no fucking reason. Retard. It's too complex for me to want to explain right now. Shifts between them are referred to as cognitive transitions, so I suggest you listen to more of his videos. No, stupid bitch. You're saying that a person changes their habitual manners of attention in various situations according to various stimuli or impacts or indications to cause this switch to occur or something. Except that's not the case. And we know that from reality. Nobody becomes an ESFP all of a sudden. It doesn't happen. I've spent 47 years of my life being a fucking ENTP. It is true, as I mentioned earlier, that if I've recently undergone a significant trauma, I behave more like an ISFJ. You might even say for that short period of time thereafter, I am an ISFJ. But that's the only context in which one switches like that, is in response to significant trauma. Now, and it's temporary, and it's not really switching. You're still prioritizing the same conscious functions. You're just focusing on your seeking function, fulfilling your needs through that rather than through your dominant function. So you don't understand anything, Heather Bryant. Okay? You do understand that I got his concurrency wrong. You're right about that. And that's why I give you credit for it. Unlike what you do here. You strawman the fuck out of me. As far as the drugs and alcohol thing, I don't care about his fixation about it or not. Am I very defensive about the subject? No, I'm very principled about the subject. I tell people who think I'm defensive about it that they ought to be defensive about their fucked upness. My point is, I'm not doing anything wrong, and if you think there's some sort of negative impact upon me from drugs and alcohol, you're paying too much attention to me than anybody else. I'm not defensive about it. I'm a principled fighter who says I will not allow bullshit of the sort that C.S. Joseph spills or the sort that anybody else spills about drugs, alcohol, or anything else to stand. I'll bring the fucking hammer and destroy it. As I'm doing right now to you in your fucking comment, Heather Bryant. Why? Because I'm a righteous man and I believe in rightness and not fucking wrongness. That's good enough reason. God damn it. Stupid fucking bitch. As fucking if. I'm enjoying this live stream. This may be my favorite live stream ever. I've got 0 participants, 0 likes, 0 chats. But yeah, it's great. As fucking if. Keep bringing it, motherfuckers. Bring it. Note who won't bring it. Who will never bring it? C.S. Joseph and DSP. Why won't they ever bring it? Because they're wrong. Why won't they ever bring it? Because they know I'll destroy them. Why won't they ever bring it? Because people like Heather would cry to see C.S. Joseph crushed beneath the boot of a heel of my boot. He's got zero chance. He's got zero ideation. He's got zero TI because he's not a fucking ENTP. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.